Hi everyone, I'm Dan Held, and today I'm going to cover proof of work, or how Bitcoin's mining function operates. All right, and I'm going to switch over to my slides here. Okay, so we're going to cover Bitcoin mining today, and let's first start with the basics, thermodynamics and energy. Per the first law of thermodynamics, energy remains the same, just merely transfers form. Now, when we think about work, or what the idea of energy and work and what that means, the idea of work being energy started with the mathematician Gaspard Gustave de Coriolis, who introduced the idea of energy being work being done. All things in our lives require energy. Purifying water requires energy. Transporting products requires energy. Cooking requires energy. Literally every single thing requires energy per physics. Now, in a free market, so capitalism, the cost of any good largely reflects the energy used in producing that good. Because free markets encourage the lowest price goods, the energy used in producing any good is minimized, because these capitalist endeavors ultimately want to have the cheapest products possible so they can maximize their margin. Now, work over time has evolved. When we were very basic, primitive animals, the work in the economy was entirely done by humans, and that work was powered by food. Some thousands of years ago, our energy usage actually increased still further when we domesticated animals. Those animals could labor in our place. But those new laborers had to be fed, and large amounts of food was required to feed them. And then finally, we built great machines, and those machines first started with wind and were powered by wind and solar. And then later on, we'd have them be powered by coal and gas, and then finally fission and fusion. Energy consumption is a natural thing of our economy, and we build and we consume more and more energy. And here's a great chart, the energy consumption of the world mapped to GDP. It's entirely correlated. And then we look at the standard of living. So energy is intertwined with our universe, intertwined with our economy, and intertwined with our livelihoods. It's not a bad thing. Energy consumption is a good thing. What's really cool about money is the representation of work required to generate goods and services, which can also be viewed as stored energy. Because let's say I labor 10 hours and I earn $100, and now I've got $100. I can use that $100 to pay someone else to go dig a ditch or to have food delivered to me, which requires energy. Okay, so let's dig into proof of work and how that relates to energy. Bitcoin's proof of work was originally invented as a measure against email spam, which was called hashcash by Adam Back. Only later did Satoshi adapt it to be used in digital cash. What Bitcoin mining does is it mints coins, which enforces unforgeable costliness. The idea that no coins can be just magically created. You have to work for them to be created. And it also protects the network by building a wall of state preservation around Bitcoin's ledger. So how does Bitcoin mining function on the very technical level, on the ground level? So what proof of work does, Bitcoin mining uses dedicated machines, ASICs, application-specific integrated circuits, to convert electricity into Bitcoin. And the machine, the ASIC, the way that it does this is it repeatedly performs hashing functions, also known as votes or guesses, until it solves a cryptographic puzzle and receives a Bitcoin or Bitcoins via the block reward. The solution to the puzzle proves that the miner spent the energy. So it's proof that the miner put in the proof of work. These machines are only useful for Bitcoin, but that's a very good thing. Some complain that Bitcoin mining doesn't accomplish anything useful, like finding prime numbers or solving cancer or something like that. While introducing a secondary reward for doing the work might seem like a virtuous idea, it actually introduces a security risk. Splitting the reward can lead to a situation where it's more worthwhile to do the secondary function than it is to do the primary function. And finally, Bitcoin is doing something very efficient with that energy consumption. It doesn't need to do something else. Like if someone is fed with corn, you don't need to be like, oh well, what else could the corn be doing if it's not feeding me? It's doing its primary function. Ultimately, proof of work is about physics, not code. Bitcoin is a super commodity minted from energy, the fundamental commodity of the universe. It transmutes electricity into digital gold. Now, Bitcoin has a capitalist voting mechanism. Money risks votes gained through energy ASICs used to generate hashes and or votes. When Satoshi designed proof of work, he fundamentally changed how consensus between humans is formed from political votes in the old world to apolitical votes via hashes. when we convert this energy. And proof of work is the proof of burn, or the validation that energy was burnt, or validation that the proof of work was done. And why is that important? It is the most simplistic and fair way for the physical world to validate something in the digital one. Until very recently, securing something meant building a thick physical wall around whatever was deemed valuable. In the new world of cryptocurrency, it is counterintuitive and weird. There are no physical walls to protect our money, no doors to access our vaults. Bitcoin's public ledger is secured by its collective hashing power, the sum of all the energy to build the wall to protect the network. And through its transparent, costly design, it would take an equivalent amount of energy to tear it down, unforgeable costliness. Okay, now we're going to go into Bitcoin's energy consumption, which I think this is the core part of most people's complaints about Bitcoin. Bitcoin's proof of work is actually the buyer of last resort for all electricity, creating a floor that incentivizes the building of new energy producing plants around disparate sources that would have otherwise been left untapped. So if you build a power plant in the middle of Alaska, you would lose all of the electricity if you try to transport it to a big city down in North Dakota. So what Bitcoin does is you can tap into that electricity right next to the power plant. So Bitcoin absorbs all of this previously wasted electricity. And this is really cool because Bitcoin in the long run acts as a way to efficiently arbitrage energy markets across the world with all of this waste or leftover electricity. What's funny is that this Bitcoin isn't the first type of substance to do this. Aluminum was actually a popular way of exporting electricity from a country with abundant energy resources that were stranded, for example, Iceland. So smelting bauxite, aluminum ore, has huge energy requirements, and converting that into aluminum is a one-way function, just like a hash, just like how that energy goes to the ASIC, and there's a hash function created from that. The same concerns around unfair energy consumption existed for aluminum nearly 40 years ago, back in 1979, including concerns of centralization. All of these companies back in that day scoured the planet for cheap power and other concessions. As aluminum manufacturing matured, the watt hours per kilogram produced became more efficient. Just like how with Bitcoin, you can produce more hashes for the amount of energy used. Now, a lot of people really worry about Bitcoin's energy consumption. Once you address that issue, then they go, oh, okay, well, Bitcoin's energy isn't using clean energy. That's false. 78% of Bitcoin's energy usage comes from renewable energy. This is a really great report put together by CoinShares. Through Bitcoin mining, the incentive to find cheaper electricity sources may actually accelerate the effort to go build a fusion reactor. Bitcoin mining becomes the bidder of any new energy source being created. And right now, the Bitcoin mining is around like a $5 to $10 billion industry. In the next bull run, it could be a $50 to $100 billion, which means that like Bitcoin will be the incentivization method, maybe to push us forward with fusion or other types of more efficient energy consumption. Now, most of the doomsday articles that you've read had very misleading metrics. You can dig into this a little bit later. Relative costs. So claiming that one usage of electricity or energy usage is less wasteful than another is completely subjective, since all users have paid market rate to utilize that electricity. No one should be criticizing you for watching the Kardashians, or you ate a burger that caused more energy usage than my chicken sandwich. And this is highlighted perfectly here with the fact that U.S. Christmas lights use more energy than entire countries. But no one's criticizing Christmas lights. I mean, no one's going around and knocking on doors being like, oh my God, you're using electricity. You can consume energy and no one should bother you for it because you've paid market rate for it. No one plays the role of electricity police. And then finally, if we compare Bitcoin's energy usage to the existing systems, it's just totally crazy to think that Bitcoin's wasteful. Bitcoin's utilization of excess electrical capacity consumes magnitudes less energy. Think about the fiat system. The fiat banking system requires all the bank servers. Then you have all the people that work at the bank and all the physical bank locations, and all those locations had to be built, which require energy. All the workers require food, their own homes, their own cars, which requires energy. And then you have the military, and you have the courts, and you have everything else associated with it, and all the workers in the military and the courts. It's a massive consumption of energy. when people complain about Bitcoin and then we look at the traditional fiat system, we have the efficient dollar with your aircraft carrier, giant cargo planes, tons of physical people residing in a physical space that had to be built to trade markets, your physical local bank branch, the Fed. You had to build this entire giant building and all the people and all the protection for them and all the maintenance costs and all of that. So ultimately, is the trustless settlement of $1.3 trillion annually between counterparties with the added benefit of cheaper electricity for all worth it? I think the answer is a resounding yes. I hope you enjoyed my presentation on Bitcoin mining. If you are curious about my other writings about different Bitcoin topics, go to Dan Held Substack. That's my email newsletter, so subscribe there where I give you my fresh thoughts every Thursday. I've got some old legacy articles on danheld.com, which cover a wide variety of different topics from Bitcoin's origin to energy consumption to the role hodlers play to what happens when all the Bitcoins mined run out. Hope you enjoyed. Cheers.